Welcome to the Coach's Corner. Let's go ahead and break down Frank Ntilikina. I got my man Andy here with me. He's going to jump in, and we got a nice breakdown for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Some things in here that you might be surprised about. Andy, what's popping with you, man? How you feeling?
What up, Sim? What up to the chat? Happy to be on this episode. I was waiting for this so long.
Yeah, I know you were. I know you were. Look, man, Frank Ntilikina has been an anomaly ever since he's come to the team, right? You know, you got people love him, people hate him, whatever you want to say. But when I watch him play, in my opinion, the kid's got talent. And there's some things that he can do that I think a lot of people overlook. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I have the same thing that you have. I actually noticed that we think alike, bro. So yeah, but to be true and on point here, really, as people gonna see in the videos, Frank can be a really positive thing. And when Thibs got the job, first thing I was thinking that Frank is gonna, have the best coach possible for his, career if he's gonna play under Thibs. From the current coaches and from what we had available, I think Thibs was the best one. So now it's Frank time. So.
Right. And,
no more
of course,
excuses.
Right, exactly. You know, Frank has to do what he's got to do. I've always believed that he was a hard worker, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. Frank's just got to come out and do what he does. And if he does that, I think he'll be successful. You know what I mean? So there's a few ways that I think Coach Thibodeau is going to use Frank Ntilikina. All right, so before we even get going, just tell me, how do you think he's going to use Frank?
Well, the main thing is going to be defense. That's Frank's calling card, and everybody knows that. Even Frank haters, if they're going to say one positive thing about Frank, is going to be defense. Also, I think that because of his defense on interchangeable positions, he can guard probably 1 to 3 on every player in the league. I think that's gonna be a plus for Frank, because we know Thibs likes short rotations, right? So if he's one of those interchangeable, guards, he's gonna get minutes. And if he's gonna get minutes, he's gonna show off more of his skill sets and more of his, pros giving, to the team and stuff like that. So on defense, that. On offense, well, we're going to see if Thibs is going to be, going with the style that he had in Chicago and in Minnesota. Then it's going to be other thing. If he's going to adapt to only the Knicks squad that he's going to be presented, we're going to see how the roster is going to shape up, and we're going to see when he's going to use Frank and stuff like that. I see several places that he's going to use Frank and his skill set. But we're gonna dig into that, later on in the videos.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Right, I think first, as you mentioned, first and foremost, Frank Ntilikina is going to be used, or should be used, in my opinion, as a defensive leader. Right, and now I know a lot of people are going to look and say, leader. Yeah, I think that Frank should be. I think I don't want to say it, and I'm going to come back to us for a minute before I go ahead and get into the video. I think for Frank Ntilikina, giving him that kind of a, should I say, title will be important to his development. Just giving him a job. You are our defensive leader. And when I say defensive leader, I mean that he's going to be organizing and orchestrating the defense on the floor. And I think that he has all of the tools to do it. You know what I'm saying? Not just because he can play, one-on-one defense, but he understands, from what I see, defensive positioning on the floor. He sees who is supposed to be rotating where.
Exactly. He has the IQ for it. And if you think about it, point guards in Thibs's style, on defense, they were orchestrating the whole defense. And of course, Noah in Chicago was helping them because he was in the back and he called out stuff as well. But if you think about it, and if you watch remember the games, Kirk Heinrich, which, he wasn't a stalwart defender. He was also, when the opposite team was bringing up the ball, he was calling out stuff, what they were supposed to be doing, icing, switching, whatever. I think for Frank, that's going to be, a daily thing. It's nothing complicated for him. And if he's going to do it on a fluent, thing, and it's going to be really easy for him, I think the whole defense is going to work better.
Right. Okay. So let's get into it a little bit. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I think that Frank Ntilikina should be, ladies and gentlemen, considered the defensive leader on the floor. So let's break down and let's take a look at some video. All right, so we're looking at this video here, and I am going to, it already started playing, so you can see some of the defensive clips from Frank Ntilikina, and I'm going to stop this in a minute and bring it back because I want to point out some things that he does. All right, so I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to bring it all the way back to the beginning. And let's talk about defensive positioning for a second. All right. We're going to look here. We're going to look at Frank Ntilikina here. Right now, you got Damian Lillard here. Whoever this is up at the top of the key, I'm not exactly sure who that is. You got Mitch Robinson, who looks like he's about to be late on the closeout. So Frank Ntilikina, he's right here. Right? His man is Damian Lillard. Okay, as your defensive leader, and well, I don't want to say as your defensive leader, but Frank Ntilikina is going to be the guy that, in my opinion, you're going to put on the best guard on the floor. Put him on the best guard on the floor that's going to save RJ Barrett from having to guard that person, which is going to save RJ Barrett's energy for the offensive end of the floor. That's why Frank Ntilikina is so valuable, ladies and gentlemen. All right, you're going to see Frank Ntilikina, the ball's swung here. Mitchell Robinson's deep in the paint, and maybe he's supposed to be. I'm not blaming anything on Mitch. Frank is going to start to rotate here. The ball gets swung. He rotates back to Damian Lillard. And then you're going to see Frank get spun around for a hot second, but get right back into position. This is good defensive awareness, ladies and gentlemen. Just watch it. Boom. Now he gets back. He's ready to defend. Boom, he gets spun, but he's still able to get back to his man, and Damian Lillard misses the shot. All right, another time. Let's take another look at Frank Ntilikina understanding where people are supposed to be on the floor, barking out instructions. All right, you can see Frank Ntilikina here. He's got his hand in the air, right? Markelle Fultz has the ball here. Frank Ntilikina, while he's not on Markelle Fultz, he understands that he's going to have to get Markelle Fultz, but he's close enough, and I'm assuming that this is Vucevic. He's close enough here that he can stop him from being open, so Markelle Fultz can't get this pass off, and he can bark out instructions to Julius Randle. He's coming down the lane. Make sure you get him. Right? This is defensive awareness at its best, at its finest. And as we let the clip go, you see, boom, Frank stops Markelle Fultz. Turnover. All right? Here. And young people who are watching this clip, this is the reason why you practice 3-on-2, 2-on-1 in basketball practice. All right? So that you understand how to have the proper footwork when you're in that type of a situation. Okay, right now, Frank is, for the most part, in a 2-on-1 situation. You see Frank here in the middle. He's got his eyes on this guy with the ball, but apparently he knows this guy is behind him. All right? And he's going to have great footwork to be able to turn around. And as you'll see, get the block. Boom, turns around, gets the block. He doesn't stop there, though. And to me, this is still a good sign of a good defender. He comes back, is able to knock down the open three. And if you want to see it again, well, you're not going to see it again. Never mind. We'll get one here. All right, Frank Ntilikina is going to get the steal. And this is another thing that I like about Frank. Gets the ball to Bobby Portis. Frank gets the ball back. Now, Frank could have said, hey, I got the steal. I want to get a shot. I want to do, like you always say, reward the big man. He gets the block, reward the big man. No, Frank sees Bobby's got position, gets the ball back to him. Bang, he knocks it down. All right, and then here, I want to bring this one back just a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, because if you're going to have a defensive leader, you got to have that all-out hustle, that all-out work. You're going to see Frank tussling for the ball, right? He loses it. He comes back in and still gets the block. Ladies and gentlemen, that right there, that's what a defensive leader is. That's why I think Frank Ntilikina should be named the defensive leader on this team. Right? I think he has good court awareness defensively, right? Understands where things are going to be on the defensive side of the ball. I think he understands team defense. He can play one-on-one defense. He has all-out hustle. He has a good basketball IQ, a defensive basketball IQ. He has a good basketball IQ overall, but he has a very good defensive basketball IQ. To me, if you name him the defensive leader, the defensive quarterback, the guy who's barking out instructions, you give him a job, you give him a role, you help to boost his confidence. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? And I think Thibs, being a defensive guy, understands that. Now, I can't sit here and say, yeah, Tom Thibodeau is going to make Frank Ntilikina the defensive captain. I think that he should make Frank Ntilikina the defensive captain. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that he will, but he's definitely going to use Frank Ntilikina defensively, right? I think he's going to use him all over the floor defensively. He's going to put him on the best guard. He might even put him on, a really good three-man. He's going to use him all over the floor defensively.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, if he's going to put some responsibility on Frank, he's going to, respond well. He had responsibility as the main point guard on the French national team, and we knew how, that panned out. He was, of course, he was working with his coach from younger ages, right? That knew Frank and knew his ability, but just showing that he can, be almost, a team captain, a team leader on a FIBA, competition on a world stage. I think that leaves you, nothing else, just to trust in, and put your trust in Frank.
Yeah, definitely. I think Tom Thibodeau is going to use Frank in the screen and roll. Frank Ntilikina is, in my opinion, right now, when you look at the guards that we have on the team right now, there are two guys that I think can effectively run the screen and roll. Frank Ntilikina and RJ Barrett. I think Frank Ntilikina is better than RJ Barrett at running the screen and roll. RJ Barrett has good court vision. I think Frank Ntilikina's court vision is better. All right. I think that, and I say this, when you look at other guys, they may not be on the team. Elfrid Payton, he may not be on the team. Okay, so I'm not even including Elfrid Payton. Dennis Smith Jr., I think Frank Ntilikina is miles ahead of him when it comes to the screen and roll. So I think, and I really want to get into this and break some things down, that you should be able, that Frank Ntilikina, if we don't get another point guard, Frank Ntilikina will probably be that lead guard because of his ability to run the screen and roll, and he fits nicely next to RJ Barrett. He's not a guy that needs to have the ball in the, he doesn't have to shoot the basketball. He can get the ball to RJ. He plays defense, right? So he can play defense, like we said earlier, on the best guard on the opposing team. I think he fits really nicely However, if fits really nice next to RJ Barrett, right? So let's take a look at the screen and roll, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I think Frank Ntilikina is going to be used in this screen and roll position, or not position, but used as the ball handler in the screen and roll. And the first thing you're going to notice is Frank Ntilikina, he can pass out of the screen and roll, right? You see him here find Mitchell Robinson for the dunk. Okay, you're going to see again. But one thing I want you to notice here, ladies and gentlemen, is that Frank is patient. And that is important when it comes to the screen and roll. Frank has the ball here. Mitch is setting the screen. He's going to take his time and maybe, take a couple of dribbles. He might have to change direction off the screen before he decides to make his move. Right? You get a lot of guards who want to rush this screen and roll. So you see Frank, boom, he's here. Come back, take another screen. Then he finds Mitch on the lob. All right, Frank can also deliver the ball off of a slip screen, as you've seen Taj Gibson just slip it. Now, here's something that's really important that I want you to look out for, and you're going to see it on the next few plays. All right, Frank Ntilikina. Let me get my NBK marker here. See Frank here with the ball, Taj Gibson setting the screen. Frank's going to get right into this area. Frank is very, very good at getting to this area on the floor. And when you get to this area on the floor as a guard running the screen and roll, it is very, very effective. Right now, you've got to have guys understanding how to be in the right position as well. If you look right now, you got, I think that's Mook over there. You got RJ Barrett in the corner, and you got Julius Randle out here. Everybody, they isolated Taj Gibson and Frank Ntilikina on this side of the floor. Now, it may have been advantageous for Frank to come here, right? Because there's not another defender over here, but instead Frank's going to come to the middle of the floor. He's effective at doing that. In this situation, it might have been best for him to come here, but still, he gets the job done. Now, and you're going to see in other plays how he gets to this area of the floor. So you see here, boom, he gets right inside here. Right, this puts pressure on the defense. Somebody's got to come help. Somebody does. Julius Randle's man comes in to help. Now you see Julius Randle out here by himself. His man comes in here to stop Frank Ntilikina, because if he doesn't, Frank Ntilikina is going to have this lane to the basket. Right? Or if he gets a little bit deeper and RJ Barrett's man comes in, then Frank Ntilikina is going to kick it over to RJ Barrett. All right, so getting to this level right here is important, and I think Frank Ntilikina does a good job at doing it. I let the tape roll, kicks it out to Julius Randle. Julius Randle knocks down the three. Again here, boom. Where is he? He's in that level once again. Right? This time he came off of a Mitchell Robinson screen. All right, came off of Mitchell Robinson screen. He's in the, you can see his little head right there. He's in this level again. This time the floor is better spaced, in my opinion. You see Wayne Ellington in this corner, whoever that is in that corner. And I think there's Julius Randle out there on the wing. Let the tape roll. Frank Ntilikina pulls up, knocks down the mid-range jump shot. Again, he gets to that level, knocks down the jump shot off the screen from Taj Gibson. Gets to that level again, off the screen from Mitchell Robinson, and knocks it down. Bam. One more time. He gets to that level. This time he's at the same level. This time it's not really at the foul line. It's off the foul line, but he's at the same level of the floor. Right? He's able to survey the floor. And then he's going to take it to the basket. RJ Barrett does a good job of doing this as well. Now, here's another thing that I think he does really well, and why I think he's so effective in the screen and roll. All right. You see him get past this man off of a screen that was here, and you're going to see him get to this level of the floor. I believe this is Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton's going to get up close to him, and Frank Ntilikina is going to use his body to fend him off and then get to the basket. Get to the basket right here. There's a lane open right here. Okay? Now, this is effective. In this clip, he's going to score, but this is really effective when you've got your head up and you're looking to see what's going to develop. Right? And this is a key indicator, in my opinion, that he has good court vision. Because when someone doesn't really have good court vision, they're rushing to get that ball to the hoop because they got a one-track mind. That's all they can see. Right? You look at guys like Chris Paul, point guards like that. They hold that defender off with their body because they're looking to see what's going to develop. Court vision. And this, you see, knocked Colin Sexton back, and he went to the basket and scored it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this kid in the screen and roll can be really, really effective for this team. Obviously, they're not going to run a screen and roll every time down the floor. But when they do run a screen and roll, I would like to see it done with Frank Ntilikina or RJ Barrett more than not. You know what I'm saying? If those are going to be our two primary guards on the floor. Right? And
yes.
You also seen in that clip that he can knock down the mid-range jump shot. And we're going to talk about the mid-range next. But he can knock down that mid-range jump shot off the screen and roll.
Exactly. And, you know, what I could add, that's one of the plays that was used by the French national team because, you know, he was playing, you know, with a screen and roll with Gobert. And Mitch is skill set wise the closest one to Gobert in the whole league. So that I think that can work. And as we saw, Frank stops, you know, around the free throw line, right? This is the thing that you get, you know, taught in European style basketball. Even on fast breaks, the place that the point guard tries to go is just to the free throw line, and then he has options: passing, you know, throwing an oop, or taking a shot. You don't always have to, you know, stop on the 3-point line and, you know, look whatever do there. Try to, you know, break down the defense at least a little bit, look at the reactions that they're making, and then, you know, pass up the ball, take a shot or whatever. Because if you're going to do that on the 3-point line and you don't have the range, it's nothing there for you. If you're, you know, around the free throw line, the defense has to react and break down at least a little bit. And then if you have the IQ and see, you know, however they react to it, you have the open lane to pass up the ball and get an easy assist.
Yeah. And Frank Ntilikina has the vision to recognize what's happening on the floor, who's doing what, you know, and then make the right decision. There are times when I think he's got to learn to pass the ball stronger. We'll see what if that's something he's been working on during the offseason. You know, he's got to pass. Sometimes he throws out some lazy passes, right? That'll get picked off. If you're going to be in those crevices in there, you got to make sure that you're getting good, strong passes out, pinpoint passes, which he can pass the ball. I'm not complaining about his accuracy. Sometimes I feel like he throws a lazy pass out there, right? So I think he's got to work on it.
I think that's the chemistry, a chemistry issue, and that they weren't sure if it's going to be this play, whatever, and most of those weak passes that we saw were around the perimeter when the ball was, going around the perimeter. So, they didn't know if it's after the screen or if it's going to be, the pass receiver is going to go to the screen, because we saw that was really asynchronized, right? So I think that was the thing that why Frank had a little bit of those turnovers at least.
Yeah. So in the screen and roll, ladies and gentlemen, I think you got to use Frank Ntilikina in the screen and roll. Next, I want to talk about the mid-range game, right? Because, and the reason why I want to talk about the mid-range game, and let me bring that back here. I want to get that out first, to show you that I'm talking about the mid-range. The reason why I kind of want to spotlight it a little bit, because everyone talks about his three-point shooting, which is important. All right, it's definitely important. But I still believe there's an art to the mid-range game, and that is a strength of his, in my opinion. I think he shoots well from that in the mid-range, and he's confident in that mid-range shot. Right? I know a lot of people will say, don't shoot the mid-range. It kills efficiency or whatever they say, right? And so now everything is, Mike D'Antoni kind of started this. right? It's either all the way to the basket or shooting a three. He doesn't want post-ups. He doesn't like the mid-range. He thinks that a post-up is inefficient, right? Because everyone's standing around watching the person post up with the ball. And that the mid-range game is, yeah, I guess he figures the mid-range is kind of inefficient as well, right? If teams can shoot, if a team is shooting 40% from the three, why shoot a mid-range when you can shoot a three-point shot? You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing. To me, the mid-range game is so effective because when you got someone that can drive hard to the basket, if they can stop on a dime and pull up, it's virtually impossible to stop. You know what I'm saying? When you want to run an effective screen and roll, you want to be able to have someone who can knock down that mid-range shot so that it can draw defenders to that person, right? So you don't want to be stuck with just shooting threes or going to the basket. You've got to be able to have different ways that you can score the basketball. I think that Frank Ntilikina is very effective in that mid-range shot, and you'll see here, that he can get it in a multitude of ways. It's not just off the screen and roll. You know what I mean? People look at Frank. We were talking about this earlier. People look at Frank and they think he can't score, but he actually has a plethora of moves that he can use. He has good footwork, and he's actually kind of crafty when he gets his chances to score. So let's take a look at Frank in the mid-range, and you see him go to the basket there and pull it up. I got like 3 clips, and I'm going to rewind these clips and bring it back. All right, this is his favorite. That's his favorite right there, and he's going to knock it down. So let's bring it back. Let's start with this one here. All right, you're going to see, Frank come off of a screen from Mitchell Robinson. Right, and I don't think we got the screen, so believe me. That's all. Just believe me. All right, Mitchell Robinson set the screen. Frank came off of the screen. Mitchell Robinson rolled to the basket. All right, and you always see Frank Ntilikina has his head up, so he has vision. He can see R.J. Barrett there. He can see Mitch here. He can see Randall here, and he can see whoever that is. I think that's a Mook over in the corner. All right, so he's always got his eyes up, looking to see what's the best available option. And he comes in, gets inside, boom, and a nice pull-up, bangs it in, boom. Here is something else that I think Tom Thibodeau should run 1 or 2 plays for Frank Ntilikina. In this play here, Frank came from down here. He's coming off, whoever that is, coming off that screen there. And Taj Gibson is going to make this pass. Boom, he's going to pull up the jump shot. This is important. I think this is important, Andy, because looking at where that is, Tom Thibodeau likes to have guys who can pass, big guys who can pass from the elbow. Taj Gibson, he's a product of Tom Thibodeau, right? And that's who's in this play right here, Taj Gibson. I did the video last week or 2 weeks ago about Julius Randle, right? And I think you can expect to see these type of plays being run for players like Frank Ntilikina or R.J. Barrett.
That can make the mid-range.
Exactly. You got to be able to knock down that mid-range. Now, I think when I come back to this, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to start over. All right, so, yep, it started over. We'll let that go, and we'll get back to this play. So you see Frank come around, knock it down from the top of the key, and then this is his favorite play. Come off the screen, pull up, and knock it down. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Ntilikina can knock down a mid-range shot. If you look at, there is a videotape, and we were talking about it earlier. There's a videotape out there, not a video, a YouTube video, not a videotape, a YouTube video of Frank Ntilikina of every shot that he made in the 1920 season. And a heavy portion of those shots are mid-ranges, right? Mid-range shots. He can knock down that mid-range, and I think you utilize it. One thing that Tom Thibodeau said is that he's not looking to say, you got to be able to knock down this, you got to be able to knock down that. He's going to utilize the strengths that you have as a player. He's going to put you in a position to be successful based on the strengths that you have as a player. That's a strength that I think Frank Ntilikina has, and I think Tom Thibodeau will use it.
And, if I can add something, when you think about Thibs' star players, they had the mid-range game. Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose, he can pull up around that free throw line and make a shot. All of his players could make the mid-range, work. And it's not only to Frank, it's also to RJ and even Julius. He has those plays for the mid-range game, in his playbook. So we're going to probably see him more than we were expecting even now. So
yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. And to me, like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. I like the mid-range. That's a big part of my basketball game. Because I don't have the speed anymore to get all the way to the basket like that. So I got to pull up the mid-range now.
Yeah, that's why I only run to the three-point line, bro. I don't lose energy going inside.
There you go. Right. Now, here's one that I think is going to surprise people about Frank Ntilikina. To me, Frank Ntilikina has some crafty one-on-one ability. He does not always show it or use it because of the type of player that he is. But he has some crafty one-on-one ability. And I think we saw it a few times last season where you would get into the end of the quarter and they actually give the ball to Frank Ntilikina and spread out and let him do his thing. It happened 2 or 3 times. I remember saying, wow, they gave the ball to Frank. Okay. I think they should do it more often because I think Frank's had success scoring when the shot clock is running down or at the end of quarters. Because he no longer, at that point, he no longer has to think.
Yeah, it's nothing to lose, right? So he has no pressure on him. Whatever he does, nobody's gonna point fingers at Frank that he didn't pass up the ball or stuff like that.
Exactly.
And as we said, before the show started, that he's not afraid, to lose that percentage, field goal percentage of his. He's gonna take the shot from behind the half court even. He's not one of those guys that okay, it's like a split second, I'm just gonna bounce off the ball, whatever, and act like I couldn't take the shot, right?
Right.
So we're gonna see Frank taking shots from his half, even just to make that attempt to score.
Yeah, yeah, and people can call me crazy, and I know that I'm a fan of Frank Ntilikina, and you guys know that he's my favorite player on the team. I know you all think it's Julius Randle, but it's not. It's actually Frank Ntilikina. All right. So you can call me crazy if you want. But Frank Ntilikina has shown a propensity to be very good during the end of games as well. You know what I'm saying? I think that Tom Thibodeau might recognize some of those things and utilize his ability to make plays under pressure. You know what I mean? So, let's just look at some times with Frank Ntilikina, and I could pull out a bunch of plays, but in the interest of time, and I only got 2 or 3 plays of each one of the things that I want to spotlight. But let's put him in position where he's forced to shoot, ladies and gentlemen. And some of you guys might be wiping the tears from your eyes, slapping your knee, because you're laughing at me, but I'm serious. Forced to shoot. All right, you see there, shot clock running down, boom, pulls it up, knocks it down. Shot clock, quarter running down, he scores. Let's bring it back one more time. Right, look at the clock. 5 seconds on the clock. I think he got the ball with 8 seconds on the clock. All right. And, people always laugh about Frank Ntilikina's speed. Doesn't have a lot of speed. You don't always need a lot of speed. You need smarts and you need craftiness. All right, so you see him come in, boom, fake, go up, score. One more time. Look at the shot clock. 7 seconds on the shot clock. Frank Ntilikina isolated at the top of the key. Like Andy just said, no pressure. I gotta go. It don't matter what happens. If I make it, miss it, turn it over, I gotta go. So what's he do? Boom, pulls it up, bang, knocks down a three. One more time, quarter running down, goes to the left, scored it with the right. I think that could be an area, and these are little things that I think Tom Thibodeau will capitalize on, where you can find little ways to build a player's confidence when it comes to one-on-one play, right? Build his confidence in pressurized moments. You know what I mean? By saying, listen, the quarter's running down. RJ's taking a break. Frank, you got it. It's the end of the first quarter, Frank, you got it. You know what I mean? You go ahead and get this one. And who knows? I mean, maybe he even, carves out, at the end of every third quarter, or at the end of every second quarter, we want Frank Ntilikina to be the one taking the shot. You know what I'm saying? So now the team knows, okay, this is when it's happening. At the end of the third, we want it to be RJ. You know what I mean? Little things like that. But I think because Frank Ntilikina is the type of player that wants to distribute the basketball and facilitate. I know we're talking a lot about scoring here, but let's not forget that that's his strength, right? Defensive facilitation, that's his strength. That's what he does. But because I don't want to say is reluctant to shoot, he's got the type of mentality to get everyone else involved first. You got to find ways, I think, to say, hey, this is the time for you to think about you. This is the time for you to be selfish. Right here, this is the time. So you find, a few times throughout the game to allow him to just go ahead and create the way that, however he can create to score the basketball, under pressurized moments where he's not going to be thinking about passing. He's going to be thinking the shot clock is running down, the quarter's running down, I got to score. You know what I mean? And then hopefully you start to develop, it starts to develop in him that, there are times when I can just go get it. Well, I think we've seen it last year anyway. You know what I'm saying? Where there were times where he would and could just go get it. And he has some crafty moves. So, don't be shocked, everybody. Don't be shocked that I said that. But I think, we'll see him in that spot every once in a while throughout the season. Another area that I think, I don't know if this is an area, Andy, as much. I think Frank Ntilikina is good on a fast break. Right? Now, there's a few different ways that he's good on a fast break. I know in his first season, everybody was mad. They didn't think that he, ran a good fast break. They wanted him to push the ball up the floor and try to score every time he got it, try to get to the cup. But he was coming from the type of basketball where that's not how you ran a fast break. Right? You ran a fast break, you got guys running the lanes correctly, and you get the ball to the middle of the floor, and you're looking to find open lanes to the basket of somebody cutting to the basket or someone who's, open at that three-point line. And if not, you pull it back out and you set up and get into your offense. He's had to learn the difference in game. And people can say, well, how long does it take to learn that? Well, when you've been doing something, how long was Frank Ntilikina playing professional basketball?
He was in the club for like 4 years before he got to the NBA.
Right.
That doesn't mean he was playing at with the top team, right? But there was strictly things that you try to develop from the youngest ages. So in Europe, when you're a point guard, you're basically, the role is get the ball to the middle of the court, run the fast lane, run through the middle of the court, watch the lanes, on the wings, and try to pass it up from the wing. And you don't go deeper than the free throw line, right?
Right.
And that's where you stop and you pass up or you take the shot. In States, there's definitely the notion that if you're running a fast break and there's no pass and stuff like that, you go for the dunk even. Mm-hmm. No matter point guard, forward, whoever you are, you go to the dunk. You don't go for the dunk, or you go at least at the rim. No matter the contact, no matter anything, right? So that's the difference. And like you said, if you're doing something for like 10 years before, from the youngest ages, it's not like in a half year you're gonna forget it and they're gonna brainwash you, and that's kind of natural for you.
Right.
So,
Right. Exactly. And that's exactly what I was getting at. When you've been taught to play a certain way your entire life, it takes a lot of work to, I don't want to say forget that style of play, but develop something new that's just not second nature to you. Right? Because those habits become second nature. But he can be effective on the break. And I think last season we saw him beginning to recognize those lanes that were open and understood how to, when you got on a fast break, if you don't have people who are open and you have a lane, that you can take that lane. All right. Now, what I'm going to show is more than just the break. I know the title of it is On the Break, but it's more getting him in fast motion situations. Right.
And Sim, before you jump in, what I don't know if it's going to be in the video even, but when you think about it and when you try to remind yourself, when he gets that rebound or the rebound, he gets that first pass. Mm-hmm. When you see his first step, it's a really fast and long step. He just, with that step, he's showing the team that let's run. Let's do it fast. And if he doesn't see anyone running, he's gonna, like you said, control the ball and wait for the other guys, right? But when you see when he's getting a rebound, he's not waiting, he's not thinking, he's just going first, straight forward and trying to be, on the offensive, half as soon as possible. If it doesn't work out, then he's pulling it back out. But the first step is really important here when starting the fast break.
Right. Okay. Yeah, way to point that out. That's good. So on the break, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at Frank Ntilikina going downhill on the break. He can be effective. He doesn't always have the mindset, but he can be effective. And I don't think we really have any clips of his first step. Right? I think we kind of got, a half-court finishing products. But, let's just take a look at him. Boom, you're going to see here with the fake, and he lays it in. But let's bring it all the way back. Right? You see here, and he's learned this. This is something that Frank Ntilikina has learned over the last few years playing in the NBA. Right? You're going to see he's got the ball here in the middle of the floor. He's recognizing, you got two guys over here spread out. I don't know who's down here right now, but he sees there's a lane for him. Right? He doesn't have to pull it up. 2 years ago, in this situation, Frank would have stopped and started to run the play. Right? That's what would have happened 2 years ago. Today, or hopefully today, or last year, it seemed like he started to learn, I don't have to stop. I can just go. And so, boom, he takes it to the basket, layup. All right, same situation here, right? He starts motoring up the floor. He comes over here. He sees this defender, Joel Embiid, because he's watching Julius Randle for whoever this is, getting ready to come off a double screen. Joel Embiid has his back turned. I think that's Tobias Harris has his back turned. Ben Simmons is on whoever this is deep in the corner. So Frank says, hey, they got their backs turned. They're not even watching the ball. They're in bed. And this is what happens when you have a good defender. When you have a good defender who understands defensive position, when you recognize someone who's in a bad defensive position, you can take advantage, because Joel Embiid, if he was playing good defense, he would have flattened out right here. Instead of having his back to the basketball, you never have your back to the ball. Maybe over here I can understand it. All right, I can understand Tobias Harris having his back to the ball because there's some action over here. He doesn't need to have his back to the ball. He could have flattened out so he can see the basketball and he can see Julius Randle, who's got his back to the basketball. Frank Ntilikina says, okay, I got you. Boom. Takes it to the basket, scores it. And then here, this really wasn't a fast break play. This was just more of a fast play. Right? There was a handoff. I think it was from Damian Dotson. A quick handoff, and Frank Ntilikina recognized the lane, and he took it in, and boom. You don't get to see many of them here again on the break. Frank Ntilikina shows his craftiness with the fake. And, yeah, Andy, I think getting him playing a little bit more downhill will benefit Frank Ntilikina, push him up in that scoring column. Right? I mean, he's averaging 5 points per game. But you see the different ways. Listen, he can. Frank Ntilikina can go off the left foot or the right foot. Right? He can lay it up with the left hand or the right hand.
Again, European school.
Yeah. He can pull up the mid-range. He has some crafty moves when he gets inside. He shoots well from the free throw line. There is no reason that Frank Ntilikina couldn't be averaging 10 to 12 points per game, in my opinion. Right? It's the mindset that has to change, and it's slowly changing, I believe. Slowly changing. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a little bit of time. And then the last thing, I don't want to say, there's more that we could find, but these are some of the main things that I wanted to point out. And the corner three. Right? Now, because Frank Ntilikina is going to be used all over the floor, this corner three is going to become an effective tool for him, I think. If he's the primary ball handler and he's used a lot in that screen and roll, you may not see him in the corner as much. But because he gets moved around the floor, and RJ Barrett can also run a screen and roll, you're going to see him in that corner sometimes. And if there's another guard that comes in, another point guard that comes in, you're going to see Frank in that corner. It's going to be essential that he can knock down that corner three, which he can do. He can knock down that corner three. Right? So, and I don't even know how much I need to go in depth as far as the corner three, because we've looked at it a lot with, some other players. For every single player on the floor, besides maybe your center, and then depending on who that center is, it still might be, that guy still might need to spread out the floor, right? But you can see he's got good footwork, shall I say, from that corner three. He's got a good hop, to catch the ball, right? If you pay attention and you watch him, right, the ball comes to him and he's got the little hop on his toes, let it go. Now, I've been a person that said, I didn't think he has great touch. So it concerned me about, those 3-point shots. And sometimes when he goes to the basket, right? I always thought his touch was a little shaky. If you notice, and this is something that may sound weird to people, right? As you see Frank Ntilikina knocking down, these are all the same clips. So he's not knocking down shot after shot after shot. They're the same clips going back and forth. So here's something that I notice about players that sometimes don't have touch, and it may sound a little bit funny. Players that don't have a lot of touch, a lot of their shots that they make either bang off the back of the rim and go in, or they go in all net. They don't boop, 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 and bounce in, right? The ball gets shot hard and fast sometimes. Frank Ntilikina looks like he has good arc on his shot. I will give him that. But I do notice when he misses, sometimes he'll miss bad. Sometimes it'll be hard, really hard. I did notice last year, though, he started to get more rolls and more bounces. I think you can work on getting that touch, though. Right? So I do want to retract that. I didn't ever say you couldn't work on it, but I never mentioned that you could. I think you can work on getting that touch. Julius Randle, to me, has no touch. Right? I don't know if he's ever going to be a really, really good 3-point shooter. He doesn't have a lot of touch. But there's guys in the league that can shoot that don't have a lot of touch. Right? And can score and don't have a lot of touch. Russell Westbrook has no touch. He has no touch. He shoots line drives, but he's still going to average 20 points a game at least. Rajon Rondo, he has no touch. He can still be effective, and he's not a shooter now. You know what I'm saying? He never really had touch. It's gotten better. If you looked at the NBA Finals, his touch has gotten better. I'm not talking about him scoring. I'm just talking about the touch. Softer touch going to the basket. I think that Frank struggles with it a little bit. It looks like it's maybe getting better. Maybe, people are working a little bit with him on touch. And just for those who may not understand, touch is not your form. He has great form. Touch is putting that little bit of something at the end of your shot that makes the ball go really soft to the basket. So if it does hit the rim, you get a nice little do and it bounce in. You know what I'm saying? That's touch. I felt like, he kind of struggled with having touch on his shot. Of course, what I showed you were all shots that he made. So, obviously he missed more shots than he's made throughout his career.
But I think you can attribute it as well to confidence. That's maybe not that really collaborator together, but I think it has a huge impact when he's going to be confident that his shot is going to be dropping. No, he's not going to be taking 20 shots a game. There's no way it's going to happen this season. But if he's going to get more tries, he's going to be it's going to come with time, right? So, and with shots. So I think it's going to be. I think it's possible to, like you said, to work on the touches in training and then implement them in game.
Yeah. So I think Frank Ntilikina. People talk a lot about cornerstones, right? Cornerstones. People talk about cornerstones, and they mention R.J. Barrett and they mention Mitchell Robinson. If you don't mention Frank Ntilikina as a cornerstone, you better mention him as a building block.
And as a piece at least, right?
As a huge piece, man. Because I always get afraid when they start talking about trades that Frank Ntilikina is not going to be valued and he's going to be thrown into a trade. I don't want that at all. I think it will be a huge mistake to move Frank Ntilikina because he brings so much defensively and he has the potential where, people may not believe it, but he has the potential, I think, to bring a whole lot offensively. He has the basketball IQ. And then as we were saying earlier, before we jumped on the show, he's the perfect teammate.
Exactly.
He's the perfect teammate. He's the perfect player for a coach like Tom Thibodeau. He's the kind of player that's he's going to play defense. He's going to give it everything he has, and he's going to listen to the coach, right? He doesn't really have an ego.
Yeah, he's not going to be complaining about lack of shots. He's going to do all the dirty work for the star player, just taking his, defensive assignments even and stuff like that. Yeah. He's a pass first mentality point guard. Now, what more do you want, right?
Right.
If he's not taking your shots for most of the stars in this league, they're going to be happy with a player like that.
I think, how many players would love to play with a guy like Frank Ntilikina? A guy that they know is going to come in, do a lot of dirty work, pass the ball to him, play defense.
It's every star player. Every star player.
They love guys like that. And then still, you can count on this guy. You can count on this guy to get I don't know if you can count on Frank Ntilikina to get a bucket. Let me not say that about Frank yet. But just talking about guys that, guys that they love, when you have guys like that and that guy can get a bucket if you need one, like they love guys like that because they just take a lot of pressure off of you. And Frank Ntilikina is almost there. He's got to form that getting a bucket part, which I think he can, and I think he will. But he's got to form that part of the game. Everything else is there. You know what I mean? And he fits nicely next to R.J. Barrett. Nicely next to R.J. Barrett. And I think the two understand with one another that they fit nicely together. And once they both develop a jump shot, who knows? If Frank Ntilikina can, he still got to get his handle a little bit tighter. But, you always see the videos of him working on his handle and those type of things. Got to get his handle a little bit tighter. More confidence in just his game overall. I don't think he ever lacks confidence as a player. Just confidence in his game overall. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Frank Ntilikina, ladies and gentlemen. Get used to him. Well, you're used to him. Stay used to him because I don't think they're moving him. I think Tom Thibodeau likes Frank and what he brings to the game. Yeah, think he does, man. Anything else you want to add in there about Frankie?
Well, I think I already said the part that, since, Thibs has a short rotation, I think Frank is going to be getting minutes not only as the playmaker, ball handler, he's going to, be playing minutes as the off guard, and on defense, he can, guard at least 3 positions. So he's going to be playing, as far as I see it, he's going to be playing major minutes for Thibs. It's not going to be like 20, 23, 24. It's going to be around 30 minutes. And I think that when you're going to get that much of playing time on the court, I think you're going to be more open to take a shot and, and prosper in way different and more categories that you were able, to show off, when you play spot minutes or, just assignments, right? So if you're going to be on that court, every now and then a steal from, even teammates' defensive play is going to pop into the stat line. A rebound is going to come, more often and stuff like that. So the numbers are going to get only bigger when you get, a guy like Frank. Frank is playing that his style of game. The numbers are going to rise if you're going to be playing more minutes. That's for sure.
Yeah. JP Gatto in the chat. He said, I thought he was playing great coming into his own at the end of the year. Him and RJ were really gelling together and leading the team. People saw the great games from RJ, but who was setting them up, running the O, and setting the tone on D? I agree, 100%. And you seen, you could see that those two guys they got along. I believe RJ speaks French, right?
Yeah.
So that's
because,
a connection.
In Canada, that they have the French is, like the language that you can, speak even in some, I don't know how I lost the word now, but it's like an office language, right? So.
Right. So that's a connection that they have. And Ralph Diaz said, he believes it's possible that Frank Ntilikina, he believes it's possible about Frank Ntilikina, everything we were saying about Frank. He said, but the contract might be too high for the front office. I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? I think that, he's going to he'll get a fair contract. I think it'll be fair.
As long as I see it, if I was the GM, I would try to resign him right now at the start of the season, because after the season, the value is going to be bigger and higher. So they're going to be looking, above 10 million, above 12 even. As far as I see it, that's why I would try to lock him up, right now for a, longer court. And I believe if you would sign him for even at 10 mil per year, right? I think that's an easy contract to sell, to another team in a multiple, player deal or stuff like that. I think it's going to be easy to move that contract if, you're not going to be happy with a player like Frank.
Right. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's a breakdown of how we think Tom Thibodeau might use Frank Ntilikina. Look, I'm sure you all have suggestions and ideas. Make sure that you leave it in the comments. There's a comment on this section on the video. Make sure you leave it in the comments. I appreciate you guys, man, and I will see you next week. Andy, you want to leave me with any parting shots?
Nothing more, nothing less, bro. See you as well next week.
No doubt. Follow us on SportsCastr, ladies and gentlemen. The whole NBK network, sportscastr.com/NBK. And everybody's on there. Right here. Peace.
Peace.